Everyone, my name is Austin Connors, and today I'm going to be presenting over Albariño. All right, so a little bit of overview. So why Albariño? Dr. Lisa actually picked this wine out for me, and I guess that that was actually a great idea and decision because this is something I never would have tried had she not picked it. So it kind of opens up, I guess, my knowledge and trying out different kinds of wines that I never would have beforehand. Species, it comes from the Vitis vinifera species, like most wines, and then grapes similar to Albariño would be like Pinot Grigio. So if you like a good Pinot Grigio, I mean, this kind of blows that, in my opinion, out of the water. And then Petit Manseng, which is seen as the French cousin of Albariño. And then Verdejo, it's another Spanish wine that has, some of the some similar Spanish wine that has similar citrus notes and citrus flavors. And then Sauvignon Blanc. However, Albariño has less of that herbal and kind of vegetable forward flavors and notes that you would get from Sauvignon Blanc. In other areas, especially in, I guess, particularly in Portugal, it's known as Alvarinho with the V, also known as Cainho Branco. And then, I guess in America, they might drop the tilde over the N and just call it Albarino instead of Albariño. So geographic locations in history. So it was actually, legend had it that it was brought to Spain from the monks of Cluny, which are monks from France around the 12th century. However, this, I guess, rumor was debunked after a lot of digging and deep diving into the history of the grape, and it was actually found that it was native to Galicia, Portugal, Galicia and Portugal. So in this, I guess, specific area, it's seen as one of Spain's most notable wines, one of their most famous wines. It's mostly grown in this Galicia region of Spain, which is in the northwest area of Spain. So if you look to the first picture on the right, it's that red area. So the upper northwest of Spain, right off the coast, and it's grown in this denomination that's known as Rias Baixas. And then Portugal is the second biggest producer of Albariño. It's grown in the Minho/Vinho Verde region. So once again, this northwest area of Portugal. And then if you kind of put the two pictures together, these areas of land are basically right next to each other. So that's why, Albariño is grown mostly in this area, this Galicia area. And in recent years, Uruguay, the United States, and Australia have started planting Albariño grapes because it's kind of growing in popularity. I guess mid 2000s, it was kind of getting famous too. However, Australia has actually gotten in trouble in recent years for selling and mislabeling wines that they were calling Albariño. There was like this whole investigation that was done into it, and they found out it was some other kind of wine varietal that they were slapping an Albariño wine label off, and they got in trouble for that. So other facts about Albariño is that it grows well in cooler to intermediate climates, making the northwest of Spain and Portugal the ideal place, being right off the Atlantic Ocean. So this also explains, why California and Uruguay are, good places to plant this because they have similar climates of that of the Galician coast. Off Wine Folly, I found that August 1st is actually known as Albariño Day. And some of the oldest vines in the world are Albariño vines with an age up to 300 years old. So the oldest actually vines in the world are up to 400 years old. So, this makes it one of the oldest, I guess, vines in the world. And then Spanish and Portuguese winemakers, value the freshness of the wine and don't want to age it in oak. They value the crispness and the briskness, I guess you should say, of the Albariño. So therefore, Albariño should be enjoyed usually within a couple of years from the vintage date. It's recommended that it's enjoyed within usually 16 months of the vintage date. And then the tiny grapes and the thick skin of the grapes themselves make it very hard to produce. And Albariño vineyards, they look much different if you look at the picture to the right than what you'd think of a normal vineyard. These vines are raised up to almost 7 feet on pergolas to keep the grapes dry and free from rotting from the soil. So here are different examples of Albariño. And then a little side note that Albariño is known for, its high quality yet relatively inexpensive prices. I mean, they're super affordable. You can find a really good bottle for $10 to $25. So the first two examples I have, the first one is Martin Codex Albariño. That's the one I'll actually be trying in a little bit. And then this Bodegas Terras Gouda Albariño O Rosal. That's $25. But these I found online were the two most popular Albariños in the past couple of years. So when I try the Martin Codex, I guess that'll be a good representation of a real Albariño. This third one, Stephen Ross Spanish Springs Albariño. This is actually grown in California, but Wine Mag rated it as the highest Albariño you can find in the marketplace. I think it's either 92 or 93 points. And then the most expensive Albariño that I could find that you can buy is this Bodegas y Venidos Atis Mar. So this will only run you $75, but this is kind of the upper echelon of Albariño. So once again, relatively speaking, for the highest quality example of Albariño, it's not even going to run you $100. You can pick this up for $75, if you please. And then here are just a couple typical, I guess, characteristics of Albariños. This is pulled right off Wine Folly, their website. So you're to get like lemon zest, grapefruit, honey, dew melon, nectarine. So just kind of these citrusy flavors, and then this saline. So that's kind of that, you'll get a little bit of a mineral taste. That's actually coming from, the Atlantic Ocean. I looked up and I said that's where that flavor actually comes from. That, I guess, I don't know, ocean breeze or whatever. And then fruit, it's usually medium to high, has a low body. It's dry in sweetness, so it's not gonna be sweet at all, actually. And then it's known for its high acidity, and then about medium alcohol level. Alrighty, I'm gonna stop sharing. So once again, turn this on. So this is the Martin Codex 2020 Albariño. Like I said, most popular one basically. So, and it's actually from the Rias Baixas area. So this would be, pretty good representation of what an Albariño is actually. More. So let me take a look at the color really quick. I would say this is a pale straw in color. I mean, you get a little bit of it. It looks more yellow, I guess, on camera than it actually does look in real life. It's just the faintest of yellow tints. So I would say it's a pale straw in color. Let me get a sniff of this. All right, so I'm getting like pear, like right away. I think that's the most recognizable scent that I'm getting. Maybe a little bit of like passion fruit and maybe like apple, some like fresh green apples, and then lemon zest. So let me take my first sip of this, see how it goes. Yeah, I'd say super high in acid for sure. I don't really need to lean forward at all to get my mouth juiced up. It's already like welling up. So super high in acidity, very crisp, very bright flavor, I guess. A lot of the flavors I'm getting is kind of the same ones I'm getting off the nose. I guess I'm getting predominantly pear and passion fruit. So it's super refreshing. Maybe a little bit of that mineral, I guess, flavor on the back end. I'm kind of getting different flavor coming through on the back end. So maybe it's that mineral flavor that I was kind of talking about earlier. And then now I'm going to start eating food with it. So For the umami, I'm gonna have a little bit of I have a little shrimp tail, so part of my eating here. This gets sloppy. Yeah, that's pretty tasty. Albariño too is also seen as like the perfect pair for fresh fish. Um, like fish tacos, I saw was a great recommendation. Whitefish, even shellfish is said it was, it goes perfectly with. So oysters, clams, crab, basically any kind of fish was seen as, really good to work along with this. And then sushi, and I'm actually gonna eat sushi in a second, but before I do that, I'm gonna have a little bit of spice. I have some wasabi, so I'm gonna try it with a little bit of wasabi, see how that goes. Well, I will say the wasabi is definitely overpowering it, but it actually kind of mellowed it out. But yeah, my mouth's still kind of spicy right now with that wasabi. So maybe not the best pairing in that sense. The next thing I'm going to move on to are these granola balls. I guess they're sweet and salty, so this kind of give a good representation of those two. It actually has in it, it's like dried apples and dried apricots with granola, so kind of a sweet, salty snack with some of the flavors that you might find in Albariño. Once again, that apple, um, yeah, the apple and apricots. So here we go. You know what? That's actually pretty good. It brings out that apple note that was getting more kind of in the nose um, for the wine, but yeah, brings out that apple flavor, I guess, actually in the wine. Um, Next thing I would have is I have a salmon roll. I guess so kind of like I touched on earlier, fresh fish is seen as like a perfect pairing, and then it also said sushi actually goes perfectly. So we're gonna kind of hit two birds with one stone here, with a salmon roll. If I can get this thing out. Pardon me, eating once again. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely say that's a good combination. I guess the acidity of the Albariño really kind of cuts through that fatty fish, I think really, really well. That's the thing too about Albariño is that you can pair it with, I guess, some of these fattier kind of meats if you wanted to, because that acidity kind of cuts right through it. But once again, Albariño is seen as the perfect pair for fresh fish. Obviously, like being in Spain, that's a pretty common food there. So, the freshness of the Albariño plus, fresh seafood would work, absolutely perfect. I'm gonna have one more sushi roll here, but I'm actually gonna put it with soy sauce and, kind of bring out that saltiness. Let's see how that kind of goes. You know what? Not my favorite. Just that soy sauce is like so like salty, kind of mutes the Albariño a little bit. Still getting that soy sauce flavor in my mouth even after I had that glass. But I guess really good pairings. for Albariño, maybe outside of fresh food, fresh fish, if that's not your thing, maybe like a cucumber salad, something really acidic, like a really acidic salad might go well with this. Also like a lemon chicken or something. Brings out kind of that the lemon zest smell and flavor that I was kind of getting. But I feel like that would actually be a good combination too. But once again, Albariño, known for how well it pairs with fish, obviously coming from Spain. And if you want to eat it with paella, that would actually be a pretty good combination too. And I guess next time, if you guys are going to go to Cafe Barbariba or some Spanish restaurant in the city, I'd recommend getting a glass of Albariño, because it's a good representation of Spanish culture, I feel like, and it would also work hand in hand with the food as well. So that's all I really have. I appreciate you guys watching my video. And thank you, Dr. Lisa, for this really fun class. I really enjoyed it. It was one of the few things I look forward to during the school week. So appreciate all the work that you had and all the guests you're able to bring on, and kind of expand this knowledge. I had to going into class, didn't really have a lot of knowledge about different wines, so it was really fun to learn about all these different varieties, and trying and seeing what I like, seeing what I didn't like. So thank you, Dr. Lisa. Thank you everyone for watching, and hope you guys have a good quarter, and take care.